Good morning, everybody. Hope you're well. We are learning in chapter 33 in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. We're on number 8, and we are learning today for a refuah shlema for the cholim, including Naftali ben Rachel, Avram Yeshua, Yoshua ben Bluma, Harriet bat Lillian, Karen Shoshan El bat Golda, Esther, Maya bat Sarah David Sophia, Lynn bas Pesalea, Yisrael ben Yochevet, Emmanuel ben Juliet. And we have in mind that our learning should also be in the merit for a quick and speedy end to the terrible conflict in Ukraine. Chapter 33 is things that are prohibited because of some kind of danger. Nohagim b'shas tekufa, it's customary during the times of the tekufa. I'll explain what that means. Menichim ksas barzel, to put a little metal, al kol hamashkim machlim, on all the drinks and foods, v'al mavushalim kavushim v'al maluchim ein tzrichim, but a cooked, pickled, and salted food, it's unnecessary. So the year, the solar year, is divided up into 4 tekufos. Basically, they align with the equinoxes and solstices. These periods are called tekufa. The once upon a time, this was a halacha, and according to most authorities today, this is not something that we need to do, so we don't have to put metal on any of our drinks. Okay, the rest of the next 2 sifim have to do with things which are prohibited. They don't involve danger per se, but they're restricted for other considerations. Okay, so the Shulchan Aruch continues. Asur le'echol ma'achlim ma'mashkim shenafshu shel adam ksas behem. So we're not supposed to eat things that people find repulsive, or from really disgusting or dirty utensils that other people would find disgusting. You shouldn't eat with soiled hands. There's he says it's actually it's a Torah prohibition, which says al tishaksu es nafshoseichem. This is a big idea. Don't make yourselves abominable. Tishaksu is abominable, is also considered like something which is disgusting. And this is from Vayikra. And the Gemara in Makos explains that don't make yourselves abominable means don't do things that other people find repulsive. So eating something which is really repulsive to most people, we shouldn't eat. Something which is, we'll get to that because, culturally, there are certain things that some people eat that they all eat it, and right? Pshaz just comes to mind. Pshaz, a jellied calf foot, right? Which is a delicacy in Eastern Europe, but, you pull it out here in Los Angeles, it might freak people out. Even you should even let's say there's something so let's say you don't find it that disgusting, but most people do, so your opinion is overridden by others. I think that this is mostly going to come to play today in our practical terms about trying to maintain some kind of cleanliness when we're eating, 2, to make sure that we eat in a manner which is not going to make other people be grossed out, right? That's the idea, is that you're not supposed to gross out somebody else by what you're doing. Then the question would be like, let's say I'm eating it at home, the psha, and I don't find it, so that'd be interesting. So generally things which are forbidden to do in public, right, they're forbidden to do in private as well. So we're going to leave it here because it would seem to be subjective. I happen to love schmaltz herring. Other people can't stand it. But, and again, do you weigh out the number of people in the world who might find it disgusting, or in your society culture? A little bit. So we're going to say again, back to halacha lamaisa, practically speaking, when we eat, we should be careful, especially when we're around other people. It would seem that we should not engage in behavior which other people might consider disgusting. And it wouldn't just go, here he's talking about food, but it might be other things as well. It's not just about food. Behema oif, if you get an animal or bird, shayu mesuchkanim, v'nishchetu, afal pi shehutru b'shchita, hamagdimim machzirim al atzman sheloi lechem. You have an animal or a bird which is really it is very ill, but it's not ill in a way that would make it forbidden to be a treifa. A treifa is an animal which is prohibited, right, even after shchita, because of certain specific defects. So this animal is not doing great, but it's not a treifa. It's not considered defective in such a way that would make it prohibited from shechting it. However, the Shulchan Aruch says that people who are scrupulous in keeping the mitzvahs should not eat them, and I would say should not shech them. Right? The Gemara in Chulin discusses the prophet Yechezkel, and even though it might be permitted to have eaten this certain animal, he didn't. He abstained out of a sense of righteousness, and so we too should take upon ourselves this. Okay, very interesting halacha considering what's going on in the world right now. So in Devarim it says, "Loi sachshis es eitza." You're not supposed to destroy its trees. When two armies are battling, and in ancient battle, and you see it even today, they've encircled a city, they besieged a city. It's prohibited to cut down fruit trees, okay? And it's not just during war, it's any time. And if a person does cut down a fruit tree, it is considered quite detrimental to us. Oh, I see a question about how do we be more careful with animals. Since most of us are not involved with the act of shchita, so the practical application today would be to eat only, if you do eat red meat, eat only glatt kosher red meat, because that's going to give you the best chance of eating meat which is from a healthy animal. Right, and then I would probably, although technically glatt does not apply to chicken, it's only an issue which applies to the animals, that the lungs are checked, which is the larger animals. So you'd want to just use a very reputable and hechsher on your meat, and if it's larger animals, so you'd want to have glatt kosher. That's the best we can do today if we're going to consume meat from a large-scale shchita house. If one is able to, the more, there's even more boutique shchita, but you can't much get it out here, but they're with smaller scale. Generally speaking, the smaller scale, it's going to be a better chance that you will be following this halacha. Although, of course, all of the main, like the OU and the OK and the Star K and all the main hechsher organizations are going to do their best to uphold this. Absolutely. Okay, trees. We can't destroy fruit trees. Asur likslois ilan ma'achalois perois. You're not supposed to cut down a fruit tree that makes edible fruit. So this is fruit that humans eat. Ilan zaishu oise roiva hakatz zeisim. This applies to an olive tree that produces at least 1/4 of kavof olives. In other words, even if the tree is not a big producer, v'dekel hoisek a kav tamarim, or a palm tree that at least makes a kav of dates. Okay, so that's like 1.5 liters of dates. Okay, v'hu sakana, it's a danger to do so. So there's a story in the Gemara in Baba Kama. Reb Chanina says, my son Shivchas died in untimely death, and the reason that he cut down a fig tree prematurely. There are many places where we see in the sages that humans are compared to a tree of the field, right?
Does that also apply in in America, or is it just like Eretz Israel?
This halacha applies everywhere,
Yeah.
and because of this kind of comparison of the person to a fruit tree, so not only are we prohibited from cutting them down when we're not at war and we're surrounding a city, but we're also, even if you have a tree on your property, you can't cut it on your own property because it could have it's supposed to be bad for you. But there are certain exceptions. Let's say it's near other trees that are superior to it. We'll explain what that means. And it's weakening them. You need its place. Okay, so now you've got a situation where you've got two trees that are right next to each other, and one is growing well and one is not doing great. So you can cut down the tree which is in the way of the tree which is growing and being more successful in its growth, and in order to help the other tree. Also, let's say you need its place. Let's say you need to build a home, and so the tree is there. You'd still want to consult a rabbinical authority, but generally speaking, if you need to build a home and there's a fruit tree there, but you're going to try to replant. Some people today would even replant those trees if they could. If its wood is more valuable than its fruit, so then it would be. So if you have a situation where you really need the wood of the tree, there could be a reason to cut it down. But today, since people are not using their own tree fruit tree wood for any kind of purpose, so it's not gonna come up. And this halacha is discussed in regards to generally our respect for the environment. And when a army circles a city, so they want to lay waste. I mean, it's horrible, and they might lay waste to all of the food sources for that city. So that's why they might cut down all the trees, and we're not permitted to do that. Number 12, hachoishesh b'meyav yesh oisin l'refua. Let's say somebody has a stomach ache, okay? And one of the ways that they would help somebody who has a stomach ache in those days, shema'amirin al bitnoi, klish yesh bo mayim chamim. They put some kind of warm water or hot water container on their stomach. So he says you shouldn't do it because you could end up scalding the person. Right? If you put something very open container with hot water to try to make a person's stomach feel better, you might end up spilling the hot water on them and scalding them. So let's discuss this a little bit more in detail. So there's a status of water called yad seletis bo. It's not just water, any kind of object. And this is especially appropriate when it comes to the laws of Shabbos. So yad seletis bo is a temperature which is so warm that if you touch it, you're going to withdraw your hand. Okay, so Rav Moshe Feinstein says that's 110 degrees. And that's considered hot for the purposes of this halacha and some other things in Hilchos Shabbos. So the Mishnah Berurah says, but what about bringing a hot water bottle that's closed, that has a top? So he says that's absolutely fine because we're not worried that the water is going to now spill out onto the person. We're going to do one more. Number 13, Asur la'avor benachal. You shouldn't cross a river, shemei mavrofim, that it's very, very swift water. Imamai magim lemala mimas naim. If the water goes above your hips, mishum sakana, because it's danger of you might get swept away by the river. So crossing a river, and all these things have to do with the importance of protecting life. That protecting life is a preeminent halacha. And so you need to get to the other side of the river, find another place to cross. Everybody have a fantastic day. Please God, we'll be together tomorrow for more.